Hey, welcome everybody. Let's talk real estate. Your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current commercial real estate market here in Southern California. As we take a no BS look at both sides of the issues driving this market today to find the best solutions going forward. With our man right in the middle, it's Barry Saywitz. Hey, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Paul. And good morning to all of our viewers and our listeners out there. Again, if it's Tuesday, we're talking real estate, and it is Tuesday. I am Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company and managing partner of Barry Saywitz Properties. And if it's one thing that I've learned in my 30-plus years of doing this, it's to try and surround yourself with good people, make informed business decisions, and try and act on the best information that you have available. And so I'm excited about today's show. Today's show is really the third part in a three-part series of our focus on South Orange County and what is happening there and to the various different cities. And so I want to welcome our guest, the esteemed Mayor Janine Heft of the city of Laguna Hills, fine city in South Orange County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Barry. Really appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about Laguna Hills. I'm excited to talk about your involvement not only within the city, but the greater workings of Orange County and the politics that are going on. I want to start with sort of your background because historically you've been in the mortgage industry and been around the real estate industry. What made you get into politics in the first place?
Well, my husband and I actually met in politics years ago, and so we've done a lot of volunteering over the years. And the mayor back in, I think it was 2015, told me that she thought I would be a great person to run for council. She found out that the councilman at the time had decided not to run for re-election, Andrew Blount, and he was moving out of state. And so I thought, you know what, this could be a good opportunity. And I really thought hard about it, prayed about it, and decided I was going to go for it. And I ended up being the top vote getter in 2016.
Yeah, great. And then so does the city of Laguna Hills, I'm not that familiar with how they elect the mayor and the mayor pro tem. Is it elected by the constituents of the city, or did they elect the city council and then the council will then nominate the different positions?
No, I believe only 27 out of the 34 cities here in Orange County have that kind of an election system. We have a selection system where every year the mayor is elected by their peers.
Got it. Yeah.
So I've been mayor twice, in 2020, which was so much fun to be mayor.
Oh my goodness.
And this year.
And so let's rewind. I don't want to focus on all the negatives and the drama of 2020, but
Sure.
certainly a very difficult time to be managing a city, running a city, and dealing with all of the shutdowns and the health issues and everything else that was going on. How did the city itself deal with, I guess, number one, the businesses that were struggling, and then number two, just trying to function as its own business of staying open and functioning?
Well, I would say I think March 16th is when everything officially shut down. And from that point on, my focus was trying to make sure that businesses stayed open. One of the things we did was we quickly tried to arrange for restaurants to be able to have patio space to take some of the parking space and use that to be able to have outdoor dining. I had an interview with ABC about how Saddleback Hospital was a safe place to go because you had a lot of fear about how, people were so afraid of COVID. You had women that were pregnant, ready to give birth, and they wouldn't even come to the hospital.
Yeah.
So that was something I did. And we also had an interesting situation where we were chosen as the COVID hotel for the basically the homeless to come to the hotel. And so we ended up having a homeless problem after that for a while. So we had to work on trying to take care of our homeless. And we had the CARES Act funds, which we wanted to make sure that we gave back to the businesses and the residents. And so I actually, myself and several of the other mayors in Orange County went before the Board of Supervisors and said, we really need these funds. And we were able to give them to businesses and nonprofits. And that was really, really helpful, about $10,000 each.
Yeah, and so putting that federal money back into keeping the businesses alive and trying to get them to the next step to chug along was really important. I know for our tenants, we had health clubs that decided to have workouts out in the parking lot and yoga class in the lot, and even haircuts out in the parking lot. It was a difficult time and challenging time, and then you go from that to, okay, now I'm going to call it in the post-COVID era. While COVID's still around, it's not the driver. We have other bigger issues in terms of the economy and what's going on around us. Let's fast forward. So you have very low interest rates, and then all of a sudden they start taking off, right? And so then that starts affect. Not only do you have inflation, you have supply chain issues, but now you have these high interest rates that are affecting a number of aspects of the economy. How have you seen that impact what's going on, not only in the city of Laguna Hills, but also just in your mortgage business?
Well, obviously, inflation is something that's on many people's minds right now. It's really bad, and I think that people are really having to watch their pennies. The city's been in probably this same place for several years where they've had to be a little bit more stringent in how they spend money. But I think I'm seeing the economy start to pick up as far as just the businesses around the city, so that's good. As far as the mortgages, that's a tough one. You've got high interest rates, and you have the same guidelines. So people are having to qualify under the same guidelines, but they don't have as much buying power because of that. And then, the sales prices in Orange County and even South Orange County in particular are extremely high. So that does affect things. But as far as the economy is concerned and my city, we're seeing now some really good things on the horizon. I guess I could talk about some of the businesses.
Yeah.
Amazon Fresh, really excited. They will be coming to our city. We have a Marshall's that's done very well, and they'll be actually moving right next door to them. And then in the location where Marshall's is at, which is right next to the Trader Joe's off of Carlotta,
Right.
We're going to have an REI.
Oh, okay.
So for our smaller city, we're about 32,000 people, in comparison to, say, Irvine or Huntington Beach or some of the really big ones. I think we've got some really good things happening, and I'm really pleased to see that coming to our city.
And I mean, South Orange County just historically was, I'm going to rewind 25 years ago. People didn't want to be in South Orange County because all the action was further north. And then all of a sudden they started moving south, and then it was sort of, it's out there and it's in the sticks. And then it's not the sticks, right? And now it's the county has evolved to the point where South Orange County is its own animal. And it's really a desirable, and in many instances, more desirable place to live. And you have more open space and more master planning. And so cities like Laguna Hills and those around you are really the benefit of the continued growth of Orange County. What are you seeing in terms of the real estate side of things? I want you to talk about projects like the mall and some of these redevelopment opportunities that are now happening as you enter the next stage of growth and development with the city.
Sure. I would say the number one question I get asked is about the Laguna Hills Mall.
Yeah.
And like many malls around the country, it's just seen better days, unfortunately. And we recently passed in 2022 a mixed-use project, and it was an interesting situation. I was actually the swing vote on that, and I had to really think hard about, is this something that's going to benefit the city, or are we looking for something else? And I ended up deciding, no, I'm going to move forward with this because it seems like this is the trend. This is where things are going. So when it's all said and done, right now the mall's been kind of raised to the ground. They're working on the infrastructure underneath. And so you've got about 24 months between now and when they'll actually start to have some construction going. And what we're expecting, anywhere up to 1,500 units, apartment buildings. And 465,000 square feet of office space, and up to 250,000 square feet of retail space. There's going to be paseos, there's going to be an amphitheater, we're going to have a state-of-the-art hotel. We're going to have Nordstrom Rack, which is one of the most popular, that will be moving right next to the state-of-the-art movie theater.
Yeah.
We'll be keeping King's Fish House and In-N-Out, which are very, very popular. In fact, that In-N-Out, I think, is the most popular in all of Orange County.
Yeah, and my aunt lives in Laguna Woods around the corner, and so the two places we go are In-N-Out and King's Fish House.
Exactly.
And so it really is a modern day redevelopment of an antiquated mall, and it really is a total mixed use project at the end of the day with a little bit of everything.
It is. It is.
And on the apartment side, are there any pieces of that that will either be, I'm going to call senior housing or assisted living or affordable housing? Are those part of it?
Yes, thank you for asking. That was one of the things we negotiated because of the state's requirements
Right.
becoming more strict. We have 100 units set aside for seniors, and we have 100 units set aside for veterans. The council wanted to see more to be able to satisfy our regional housing needs assessment numbers, which you're probably familiar with all the conversations you've had with other mayors.
Yeah.
But that is all that we were able to negotiate from the developer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a practical side of it.
Yeah,
We've got to make
of
money.
course, of
But
course.
but you are doing it, and you are helping to comply and helping to provide affordable and what will be nice and new housing opportunities for other demographics of the population.
We are. We are. Most of them will be market rate, and I'm expecting a beautiful project. The developer's name is Merlone Geyer Partners. They've been around a long time. They've done a lot of other projects in the area. This is one of the largest they've done. So, but it's been a long time coming. 2016, the original plan was approved for like 900,000 square feet of a new mall, and that just kind of
Went away.
went away. Yeah. Yeah,
And so, is there a projected completion date? I'm certain it'll be phases, but what's the total time frame for build out in a ballpark sense?
we were able to negotiate a pretty successful development agreement, which gives us the ability to have certain requirements. And one of the things is to be able to have the hotel up and running within a few years for economic reasons,
Right.
to be able to handle the infrastructure coming in. And on the building side, as far as the time is concerned, it's a 15-year development agreement, which, I'd love to see things there a lot earlier, but it was a negotiation process. So I'm hoping that in the next 36 months, we'll start seeing some things completely built. The hotel has to go up pretty quickly. There are the developers not able to get their fourth certificate of occupancy until that hotel is up and running. So we did definitely put some safeguards in.
Gotcha. And it's an exciting project, and I'm sure as we get closer to it and once they start breaking ground on it, then we'll see and hear a lot more about it in the news.
Yes.
And the people that are in that area will have another destination place to go at the end of the day.
Yes, and like a mother hen, I am watching it very
I'll
carefully.
bet.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we appreciate the excitement about it, and I think it's going to be a great project as it goes forward. I guess talk a little bit about the residential side of things for Laguna Hills, because you are surrounded by some other smaller cities, but also close to an Irvine, which is I'll call it a bigger city
Metropolis.
with right
Yeah.
and other dynamics when you get into it. But how does a city of Laguna Hills and some of your neighbors around you look at the long-term plan for South Orange County? Man, I think it's just a great place for people to live and work. And in our brokerage business, we see a lot of businesses wanting to relocate to South Orange County because a lot of the principals live down there, and they prefer to have their small business located and not have to commute. And so do you see a lot of that where you have new businesses coming in?
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the growth of Orange County, because before COVID happened, there was an expectation that we were going to have like 50,000 new people in the next 20 years. It was going to be a lot of new people coming in. And I did a little research. Cal State Fullerton, the Center for Demographic Research, they're actually projecting numbers to go down, which I thought was really surprising. 2040, it's saying 3,345,665. But by 2050, that number will have actually gone down, really surprising, to 3,327,124. It's a difference of 18,541 people coming into Orange County. So I would hope that we would be able to stave off the stagnation of the economy we've experienced and bring more people in. But, California is a really unique animal, and we don't really know what to expect. I'm hoping in terms of real estate, we're very built out as a city. So we don't really have any place like
Right.
Irvine, Lake Forest. They can just keep building and building. We're not in that situation. So I'm hoping that we will have opportunities for ownership. It seems like what the appetite is, a lot of apartments is what people want. But being in the mortgage industry and having done this, 25 plus years, I'm hoping that we will have developers that want to come in and do things if we're under the gun to meet these regional housing needs assessment numbers, which is what the state requires.
Right.
I'm hoping that we will really have the opportunity to have more ownership opportunities. And just a note about that, our number, the last cycle that we had to give the state, we have to plan. We don't have to build them, but we have to plan, was 2. Our number this time is 1,985 units.
Wow.
Yeah, it says a
big
lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is a housing crunch, and then the other issue is affordability. Nobody can deny that Orange County is not an inexpensive place to live. And so when you have
Absolutely.
service employees, they either need to have affordable housing or they will have to commute from other places. And that's just a
It's
fact of life.
Tough situation.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, trying to make that work.
And there's no magic wand to solve that one. That's just a dynamic of what's going on. But I also think that sort of dovetails back to what we have going on in the economy as a whole. Let's switch gears a little bit to the mortgage side of things and how that is affecting the housing market, because that is your other hat that you wear on a daily basis in your own regular business. With the mortgage rates that have run up, it certainly has slowed the transaction volume way down because people either can't afford it or they wait on the sideline or they get boxed out or their payment goes up or any of the above.
Exactly.
And then the problem is the people who waited on the sideline, the rates just kept going up, right? And then they still went up again a couple of weeks ago, and no prognostication in sight that the rates will come back down of any significance anytime soon. So now you have to adjust yourself to the new pricing. So either, in my opinion, I'm curious what you think, either prices have to come down or people have to adjust to the new norm. And if they can't afford it, they continue to rent or do whatever it is that they're doing. And that slows the whole market.
I'm hoping prices come down a little bit. I think we're seeing a situation where the sellers are getting greedy again.
Yes.
And they're starting to raise their prices, and they're expecting everyone to waive their appraisal contingency, which basically means if the property does not appraise at the sales price, the buyer is on the hook for the difference. And not everybody has that extra $20, $50, $100,000 lying around on top of everything they're bringing into the purchase. So it's tough right now. I'm hoping that the Fed starts to really understand that I think this is unsustainable long term, and that Jerome Powell, who is the Federal Reserve Chair, starts to realize we can't keep raising the federal funds rate because it's causing chaos in the market.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all relative term, but if you're comparing to what I'll call yesterday's interest rates of 2 or 3%,
Right.
and today you're at 6 or 7%, it is literally 2 or 3 times as much as it was before. However, if you roll back and you go, hey, 5% is kind of a normal kind of a thing, it's not terrible, that's fine. But the disruption of the very quick raise in the rates, the shock to the economy to try and suppress the inflation, while I'm no economist, the problem is you just keep creating other different dynamics, and you're trying to solve one, and then you're creating others as you go.
Yeah, and refinances, those have pretty much gone away.
Yeah.
If you didn't jump on the train, that train has left the station. In terms of purchases, there are some little tricks. There's different things you can do. You can buy down the rate. A lot of times sellers will actually pay for a buy down because that's a win-win. They are able to get the buyer a lower rate, and they're able to gradually adjust to a higher rate depending on what the transaction holds. Or another thing that they can do is that they can make sure that the amount of money that they're qualifying for is comfortable, because when it comes down to it, this is a different world, like you said.
Well, you don't want to extend
And-
yourself, right?
yeah.
I mean, and then the other issue is also the amount of reserves that the buyer then needs has to go up from the lender, because the lender is asking more questions and being more thorough. They're concerned too that somebody doesn't have the capacity to make the payment. It just puts stress on the deal all the way across the board, I think.
It does. It does. And I'm hoping that things get a little better that way. But right now we're just seeing, one of the things I guess I could kind of talk about, first-time home buyers. That's kind of some light at the end of the tunnel, because what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have done is they've reduced the fees that a normal first-time home buyer would actually pay. In fact, it's been a little interesting, because if you have a great credit score, you're actually getting more of an adjustment in the negative, driving your interest rate up than if you don't have a great score. That's been a new,
Huh.
interesting in the market. I don't know, robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, Robin Hood
Right.
philosophy. But it's nice because what's happening is your rate would have been like 6.875. And with the subsidization, I guess, that Fannie Mae is doing, you're able to go down to like 5.75, something like
Yeah.
that, which could be affordable.
And with the first-time home buyer, you can get away with a smaller down payment, and so
3%.
right. So those will help. The same with the VA loans and some of these other kinds of things.
Yeah,
But
VA is nothing down, which is really, really
Right.
and no mortgage insurance. So the VA loan's one of the best.
yeah,
Best
and
ones out there.
so those I think are still good. But when you start to get into those middle tier pricing of the homes where there aren't the first time home buyers necessarily, and you had the people that were trading up from where they were before, that's sort of gone away as well, right? The idea is if I was going to get a bigger home, a more expensive home, I'll just stay put where I'm at, and
Yeah.
then you're back to that slowing of the transaction volume. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see what happens between now and the end of the year, not only with interest rates, but even if the rates stay the same, what that does to the residential market and whether there's volume there or not.
You do have a lot of seniors who are staying in their homes. There was a proposition passed, you're probably real familiar with it, Prop 19.
Yeah.
And that was just a few years ago. And the whole, I guess, impetus behind it was to get people out of their homes. So the ability to pass on your lower tax base to your children, they've restricted that. And so I think it's because a lot of people were, saying, I'm not going to move.
Right. Well, and you had seniors doing reverse mortgages, pulling out the cash, and now the reverse mortgage could be at like 8%, and so you're just chewing up the cash that you would have
You are.
that much quicker. And so there are many different dynamics that are not that great at the end of the
Definitely.
day. On the flip side, the apartment market, because there is less transaction volume on the residential side, people continue to rent, and people continue to need a place to live, which is why you have the need for more multifamily apartments, and some people just don't want to buy. They're perfectly fine to rent.
It's a lot to take on. You're taking on the property tax. If it's a condo, you've got the homeowners association dues. You're going to have to carry some sort of homeowners insurance. I mean, it's not just, people don't realize it's pretty expensive. I mean, whereas you'd be able to get away a year and a half ago at maybe, I don't know, $3,600 out the door on your average Orange County condo, now you're probably at $5,200.
Yeah, well, and things like trash that maybe you don't pay as a renter that you would pay as a homeowner.
Water.
Right, water, landscaper, all these things just add to it.
Absolutely.
So let's switch gears back a little bit. I want to talk about the city and its position relative to business. Is the city and is your position, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is it pro-business? I mean, are you trying to get more businesses into the city and then make the ones that are already there more successful?
I am 100% pro-business. That is one of the things I ran on. I feel like we need to have a thriving city. And it was really interesting. For the first 20 years, we didn't have any term limits. And so I think we were kind of staff run. It was kind of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We established ourselves in 1991, and then time went by, and then it just like, okay, we don't really have to do anything wild or crazy. Let's just kind of keep the status quo. And in 2018, term limits went into effect because those were voted in 2010. And you're just seeing a lot of new blood, a lot of energy. Let's really make this city a vibrant city. I talked about the different businesses coming in. We have a lot of different flavors brought to the table among my colleagues on the city council. And my husband's actually the immediate past president of the Laguna Hills Chamber of Commerce. So we are very much pro-business.
Which is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and as a business owner, we like to hear that. And as a guy who owns a brokerage company who deals with business owners all day long,
Come to
certainly-
Laguna
right?
Hills.
So that's your that's your theme of the day. Go to Laguna Hills,
Absolutely.
new mall, new place to live, very pro business.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to bring in good businesses, and we're excited about the Amazon Fresh because for being a smaller, relatively city, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and so the prognosis. I know you've spoken on certain panels, and you're involved in a bunch of other organizations like the Transportation Authority and other things that are really dealing with sort of bigger picture issues for South Orange County as a whole, and then Orange County as a whole. What is your prognosis for the continued growth, not so much in terms of people, but in terms of the evolution of the city and South Orange County in general? Is it going to be and continue to be a vibrant, exciting place to live in the future?
Well, if I had to compare North, Central, and South, maybe I'm a little biased, but I would say that South Orange County is very vibrant. You've got some beautiful cities. We've got cities that are right there on the beach. We have 11 cities in South Orange County, and they all have their own unique personalities. But I would say that South Orange County is a very desirable place to live. You have just a lot of people that, if they can afford a home in South Orange County, that's where they're going to live. I think the businesses around, it's a place where, it's a place where people like to be homeless too, because it's a great place to.
Right. Look, we joke about it, but I mean, if I was going to be homeless, I would want to be in a nice city. And,
why not?
And hopefully, close to the beach
Versus
and where it's
someplace
warm.
in Nebraska,
Right. or New York where it's cold and there's a bunch of people walking by. And so you take the good and the bad with that. But I mean, I guess let's talk about that for a second. What is the city doing? I know every city has sort of mandates from the state to try and deal with the homeless population, not only in terms of providing services, but also in terms of whether it's resources or places for them to go or live or get treatment. And so are you guys, we've talked to other cities about it. Everybody seems to be struggling with how to best accomplish that.
Well, being a smaller city, we don't really have the problems that, say, Anaheim, Santa Ana do, even maybe Lake Forest.
Or San Clemente.
San Clemente definitely has their share. As far as homeless are concerned, we contract with Mercy House, and they work with our homeless. I think our last point in time count, which is volunteers go out in the middle of the night and they really find out how many homeless the city has. I think it was around 12.
So not a lot.
So it's not a lot. Having said that, I think it's just a problem in general that if we don't have a problem, we should be helping other cities. So if another city has beds that they can help the homeless, we can work with them. Maybe if we have homeless in our city, that we can send them. And I think the biggest problem with homelessness, if you want me to go into that, is really the mental health issue.
Yeah.
A lot of the things have changed in terms of the law in California, AB 109, a lot of years ago, where you just don't have the ability to take care of people that need that have mental challenges. And we need to be able to help these people. They need to get that help. You've got some that I just don't want to work. I'm just here. I'd rather.
But isn't the byproduct, if I get them the help and they're in a better place, then they'll be off the streets, or there's a better chance that that's the case?
It's a combination. You've got some people that don't want help.
Right.
And I think some organizations have the attitude of one size fits all. Hey, just get them off the street. They can't wait to be off the street, but that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
We've seen that. I'm the immediate past president of the Association of California Cities, which is an advocacy organization, and we started the Orange County Housing Finance Trust a couple of years ago, where counties can either put money in or they can actually open up shelters. And so we work with each other to try to help each other solve this homeless crisis.
Got it. And what about safety? I mean, that's obviously a big deal for everybody. And Laguna Hill's a very safe place to live.
It is.
Quiet, not a lot of drama. Right. I mean, I look at it and go, it'd be at the top of my list in terms of places from a safety standpoint.
It is very desirable, and we actually just hired a brand new police chief, which I've been pleased about. Been sitting down with him, talking about just really making our city as safe as possible. Public safety is one of the most important things when you're an elected official, and we're looking to probably. I have to obviously discuss this amongst my colleagues, but if I had my druthers, I'd like to actually increase our sheriff's deputies, boots on the ground, so to speak. So that's something that we'll be discussing in terms of our budget coming up. We'll have our 2-year and biennial budget. But the sheriff's contract, being one of 13 contract cities, it is our biggest expense.
Right, and for those people who don't know, there are certain cities in Orange County that contract with the county sheriff.
Versus having police and fire.
Right,
yes, exactly. And I don't think that we can put a price on safety when it all comes down to it. That's the most important thing we can do, and things are changing all the time. So if we need to put more deputies on the street to make sure that our residents are kept safe, that's what we're going to do.
I agree. And so we only have a couple of minutes left. I
Sure.
told you to go quick, and it always
It does. It does.
What are some of the big agendas for the city, if you have any, for going forward in a general sense? And then where do you see sort of the biggest challenges for between now and the end of the year?
Let me start with the challenges. We've been kind of in an austerity mode for several years. So right now, one of my goals is to think of creative ways to bring in revenue. Being a smaller landlocked city, we don't have a harbor, we don't have an airport. At this point, we don't even have a car dealership. So we have to be creative on how we can bring in revenue to the city. We have to make sure we're sustainable for the future financially, because we have to be looking at years down the road. So that's something we're working on right now. And as far as goals are concerned, I think we want to just really make sure that the city is a beautiful place to live. We have a campaign that we started a couple years ago called Rooted, where we have volunteers go around the city and either plant or paint or repair things. We've had some deferred maintenance, so we're looking to do that. We're looking to bring great businesses into our city. We have a women's pavilion for memorial care for Saddleback Hospital that's going to be opening pretty soon, and we're excited about that. And we're looking to be a place where people want to raise their children, have vibrant families. Nellie Gale is one of our largest area of the cities. It's an equestrian area. It's very desirable, and we just want to make Laguna Hills a place where people want to come, live, work, and play.
Yeah, and I think really getting the word out. I mean, there's a lot of cities with the word Laguna in it, right? We won't diminish Laguna Hills by bringing up Laguna Beach.
I've been
Laguna
called
Niguel,
everything.
right? So people get mixed up. You're in where? And so,
Oh yeah, just not Laguna Woods,
right.
because
You're not at the beach.
Not,
What do you
not
mean?
that old yet. Yeah.
But I do think that the more that you get the word out, and the more that people become more familiar that are not already in the area that are moving here, it'll raise the awareness and not only the desirability. I, as somebody who's lived here for a long time, I certainly know it's a great place. And
Yeah,
it's a
business
beautiful city.
friendly, family friendly. We want to be a place where people are really feeling welcome, and that's what I've been doing ever since I was elected in 2016.
Yeah. So I would just say, look, if you're looking for a place, Laguna Hills, it's a good option, and it's a great place to live and work. And I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing
you.
all of your thoughts and views with us. And I wish you best of luck to you and your family and to the city as you move forward.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah. So I am Barry Saywitz. We are out of time, unfortunately, but we will see you here next week. We'll be talking more real estate. Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company. Janine Heft, mayor of the city of Laguna Niguel. Laguna Hills. See, I did it myself. Jeez, Barry. Anyway, we will see you here next week. We will talk more real estate. I want to give a big thanks and shout out to all the folks here at OC Talk Radio, Paul, Sophia, and the whole staff. Thanks again, and we'll see you here next week on Let's Talk Real Estate.
Well, there you have it. You've been listening to Let's Talk Real Estate, your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current state of the real commercial real estate market right here in Southern California. On Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studio here at the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.